the years, you have gone through a couple of different changes. Getting married, becoming a father, and getting back into music from secular to Christian rap. Let's talk about those transitions.
Well, starting off with just being in ministry, right? Growing up in ministry, and how like I used to have this segment called Facts on Instagram, which stood for like frequently asking Christ the solution, and that was like every Monday at 9. So I just built that habit like within ministry, and just living up to the words that I preach, and not just saying things just to say them, but truly meaning them and being an example unto others. And that definitely played a major role in going into marriage.
Okay. And with you guys getting married, you guys had a child.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're a father, how do you view your past choices, and what do you want to pass down to your children?
I view my past choices as grateful for the experience, because I've always been told experience is the greatest teacher, but I think going through those things, whether it was good situations or bad, has really just shown me to be grounded and leveled and grateful, neutral in Christ, right? So even as a parent, you're not going to always do everything right. As an artist, you don't always do everything right. As a husband, you don't either. But as long as you can learn from the experience, then you know how to kind of steer and guide your kids, in a better situation.
Okay. And what, talking about those points and just turning, what was the turning point that made you leave secular music behind?
Oh, that's a good question. So I actually talk about this on the album, in the song August 25th, but really it had just come to a point where I was kind of living like a double life, where and I know I'm not the only person watching this that may feel that way, but, in the album I talk about how, on Saturdays when we would have service, my heart was so dedicated to the ministry and so dedicated to being honest in front of God and serving God. But then, in the weekends or every other night, I'm in the studio and we're pushing this secular music that's contradicting who I really am in service. And so, I had gotten to that point where I was kind of playing both sides of the fence. And talk about a godly woman like Becca, I remember just telling me listen, I'm not going to be the girl who's standing by your side in service and then watching half naked girls in your video and doing all types of crazy stuff. That's not promoting the gospel. So you need to decide basically who you're going to serve and what you're going to do. And it was that moment that I realized dang, I'm not really living life for Christ like I should be, and so I made the decision to walk away from secular music at that time and fully pursue my walk with God.
Okay, so what was the hardest part about leaving your past version of yourself?
The people that you left behind, the friends that you thought that at the end when it was all said and done and you had made it, or whatever that form of made it looked like, that they were going to be there with you, or just music was all we had growing up. So anyone who knew us, anyone who knew our lifestyle, they kind of expected us to make it in music. So I think one of the hardest things was walking away from not only my friends but myself. That was all I'd ever known since high school. So just revamping myself and really relying on God to show me who he's made me to be and not what I thought or what other people thought I was. And so yeah, that was definitely the toughest time.
I can understand. What would you say to someone struggling to walk away from the world to follow Christ?
I would say don't expect it to be perfect. Walking away from the world can cost you everything. It will cost you everything. Some of the closest people to you won't understand that decision. It could even cost you a relationship, but you got to understand, if God is going to require so much of us to give up, then you got to understand that what he has for you on the other end of that decision is worth more than you can even imagine. You know, like I think about my life right now. I think about where we're at in music. Just to be able to do something like this, like we would have never thought to be able to do something like this with so much purpose and so much meaningness at this time. So you just gotta know, like I encourage anyone who's considering, you know, they know they've been on the fence and they know it's time to really respond to the call. I would say, one, be grateful, because there's so many people who had the chance to do that and chose not to, and they're no longer here, you know? So if you do feel that way, respond to that call and know that you're not gonna be perfect, but God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He just expects us to be willing.
Yeah.